Okay, we are looking underneath the front of the vehicle for any signs of leaks, such as oil, coolant, or fuel. Don't see any, so we're going to go ahead and open the hood. Okay, go ahead and open her up. Okay, we're going to start over on this side. All right. Let's go ahead and walk back here a little ways because my exhaust system is on this side of the truck. So we're going to go right to it. Now it's in a different place on your pre-trip here, okay? So you're going to have to come and find it. It's probably way the hell back here. I'd rather you knock it out here though, because it's easier. Break. Here it is. Okay, this is my exhaust system here. I'm making sure it's securely mounted. There's no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It's not cracked. Hold on, I'm looking at the wrong stuff. It's securely mounted, tightly connected. No loose or missing nuts or bolts. No cracks, no holes, and no signs of exhaust leaks. I guess he doesn't care, but I do. My exhaust leaks I'm looking for are things such as rust and carbon soot. Okay, so I want you to try to remember that.
Can I write that down?
Okay, so we got that knocked out. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and knock out my drive shaft because I'm looking right at it. Okay, so my drive shaft is secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts at the connections. It's not bent or cracked, and there are no obstructions at the couplings. Okay, so we're done with that. Now we're going to go to my fuel tank. It's right there. What do we have it on? Hang on. Fuel tank, my cap is tight. I would make sure my cap is tight. My tank straps are secure. There are no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is not cracked. And there are no leaks from my tank or my crossover lines. Okay? So I've knocked all that out. Now we're going to come up here. If you'll notice, our alternator is on this side of the truck. Okay, right there. So I would check my alternator. It's secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It's not cracked or broken. There are no loose, exposed, broken, or burnt wiring. It operates properly, and there's no damage. Okay, see how it's written there? Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we got our belts. Belts, alternator, water pump, and fan belt. Just name them all in one shot. They are not cracked, frayed, or show excessive wear. There are no loose fibers, and they do not deflect more than 1/2 to 3/4 inch from the center of the belt. Again, don't touch any of it. You're just talking about it. Okay. So we knocked all that out. Now my coolant. I would make sure it was full and not leaking. So we knocked that out. Okay? So we got my alternator, my belts, my water pump. We might as well knock it out. My water pump is belt driven. Let's go back to alternator for a second. My alternator is belt driven. Make sure you say that, okay? My water pump is belt driven. It is secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts, no leaks, and it works properly. And what's the other one? Operates properly, and no damage. Okay? That's it for this side of the truck. So now you do not have to check washer fluid. Okay. All right, the rest of it we're going to knock out on this side of the truck. Now, when I come over here, I still have to check for leaks one more time. So, I'm looking directly under engine and transmission for any signs of leaks. Okay? This is where I would knock this out, right over here. Next, I would check my oil dipstick, which is right here. Or make sure the oil level was full and above. The oil level was in safe operating range and above the fill line. Again, you're not pulling the stick, you're just saying you would. Okay? Where are we at here? Air compressor, do you know where that's at? It's right there.
That's the air compressor?
Mm-hmm. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay. My air compressor is gear driven, it's securely mounted, no loose or missing nuts and bolts, and make sure there's no signs of fluid or air leaks. It operates properly with no damage. Okay. My power steering fluid, right here.
Okay.
Okay. I would make sure that it was in safe operating range, above the fill line, and not leaking. Okay. My power steering hoses. Where is that at? Oh, here we go. Let's see where he has that. He didn't even have hoses in here, did he?
Just past it.
Thank you, John. All right, we're going to talk about our power steering hoses. That's coming off of here, okay? They are securely connected at both ends. They are. There's no cracks. They're not leaking. There's no abrasive damage, and they're not rubbing on other parts.
Bulges.
No bulges. Okay.
Okay.
Power steering. Where are we going to go here? Power steering fluid.
Power steering pump is right there.
Power steering pump. Okay. So the pump on this one is right there.
Okay.
And then that's the steering box. Is that where the pump is? Let me make sure. Yep. Power steering pump. Okay. It's gear driven. It's secured. No loose or missing nuts or bolts. Not leaking or cracked. It works properly and no damage. Okay. That's for that one. Now where are we at? Power steering pump. Dipstick. Oh, our hoses and clamps. Okay. Making sure that there's no leaks, there's no cuts, cracks, bulges, or rubbing on other parts, no abrasive damage. And they're securely connected at both ends. Okay? That's it on your hoses. Those are your main hoses.
Okay.
You've got a lot of hoses.
No clamps.
Hoses and clamps.
Okay.
Yeah, say hoses and clamps. And my steering box, which is right there, secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts, no cracks. Here's where the hoses are, but we already covered all that. Okay, no cracks and not leaking, I would say, for my box. My linkage arms and rods are right here, Tracy, here and down here. Okay, That's all you got to say about them. Secured, no loose or missing nuts, bolts, or cotter keys. There are no worn, bent, or cracked parts. And I would also say no worn, loose, or cracked sockets. Sockets. Okay, that's not in here, so I might add that.
Okay.
I mean, now you got it on video, so. All right, so that completes our steering. So we're all done with that. Now we're going to drop down to suspension. My leaf springs. They are secured. There are no missing, shifted, cracked, or broken leaf springs. Okay? My hangers. Those are over here. Okay? They are secured. No loose or missing nuts and bolts, not cracked, and no worn, damaged, or missing bushings. Okay? My U-bolts, which are right there. They are secured, they are not cracked, there's no broken or missing U-bolts. I would say loose, broken, or missing, but that's up to you. Shock absorbers right there. Secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts, and no leaks. Okay? Now we're going to go to my brakes. We're going to start with my brake hoses and lines right here. Okay? They are secured at both ends, they're not cut, worn, frayed, not leaking, and they're not rubbing on other parts. Okay? Brake chamber, which is right here. They are securely mounted, no loose or missing nuts, bolts, or clamps. No cracks, no dents, and no leaks out of my brake chambers. Okay? Slack adjusters and push rod are secured, no broken, loose, or missing parts. With brakes released, there should be no more than 1 inch of movement on push rod stroke, and you also need to put in here, no you did, push rod is not bent. Okay? Brake linings inside there. Minimum of a 1/4 inch thickness on the pads. They're not cracked. There's no loose or missing components. I would check my drums to make sure there are no cracks, holes, dents, or grooves on my drums. And there's no sign of oil or grease on either linings or drums. Okay? Bam, we're done with that. So so far we've done our steering, our suspension, our brakes. Now we're going to go to our tires. Okay? Front tire should have a minimum tread depth of 4/32. The tread needs to be evenly worn with no abrasions, bumps, or cuts to the tread or the sidewall. Okay? My valve stems are not missing, broken, or damaged. And I would check inflation with the tire gauge. That's all you got to say about that. Wheels and flange. Wheels, flange. They have no cracks or welds. Okay? Also, That's not on here, and I don't know why. There are no cracks radiating from the bolt holes, and the bolt holes, there's no distortion. Okay, you're gonna have to pull that off the other pre-trip because it's not on here. I don't know why. My lug nuts are tight. There are none missing. There are no signs of rust trails or shiny threads. And this you put an oblong here. It should actually go on the wheel itself.
I'll doctor it.
Okay. Axle seals, which are right there. They are not leaking both inside and out, and I would check to make sure the oil level is full. Okay? Done. Doors and mirrors. My hinges are securely mounted, not cracked. There are no loose or missing nuts and bolts. Okay, my door opens and closes securely. There's no sign of damage to my door. And my door seals are intact. Door seals are intact. Okay? My mirrors. Okay. My mirrors are securely mounted. No loose or missing nuts, bolts, or mounting brackets. Okay? I don't have to say properly adjusted because I've already done that. Mirrors and mirror brackets, yes, or mounting brackets. They are not cracked, and they are. You could say they're clean again if you want. You don't have to say they're adjusted because you already did that on the inside. Okay. I already did my fuel tank. You don't have to talk about this. Okay. So that's it. I mean, we've already done the fuel tank and the exhaust and the drive line. All that we took care of on that side. Now, header board, right here. It's secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It's not cracked, bent, and no broken welds. That's all you got to say on that. Okay. At this point, it's not on here, but I would say my tractor floor or my truck floor has no holes. Okay? Just for the fun of it.
Okay.
Now we're coming back here. We've already done drive shaft. Okay, tractor frame and cross member. Okay, you just kind of look down and look at the frame and cross member. Make sure they're secured. There's no loose or missing nuts and bolts. There's no cracks or bends in either my frame or my cross members. Okay. Rear suspension. Okay, this is how we're going to do it. Rear suspension. I would check my leaf springs, my hangers, my U-bolts, and my shock absorbers, same as front. Plus I have airbags, if you want to take a picture of them, on the inside there of that shock absorber. Mm-hmm. See them okay?
Yeah, the big round things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where do you have it in here? Airbags. Okay, I have airbags. They are secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts, no cuts, no bulges, no leaking. They're not deflated. There's no rub marks. My airbag mounts or mounting brackets are secured with no loose or missing nuts, bolts, and they're not bent or cracked. So you got the airbags and the airbag mounts. Okay. You have to talk about those separately, okay? Now we get into my brakes. My brake hoses and lines, my brake chambers and clamps, my slack adjusters, my linings, and my drums all check same as front. Done. My tires, my wheels, my flanges, my lug nuts, my valve stems, and my axle seals check same as front. With the exception of minimum 230 seconds on tread depth, and my duals are not touching, and there's nothing stuck between them. Got it?
Got it.
Okay, so we're done with that. See, that's pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mud flaps. They are secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. They are not worn or torn, and they hang to at least the center of the axle. Okay? We've done airbags. Okay, now we're going to get into this. Air lines and electrical lines. My air lines, glad hands are secured and not leaking. My airline hoses are secured at both ends. They're not cut, spliced, cracked, or excessively worn. They are not leaking or rubbing on other parts. My electrical line is here, the black one. It is secured at both ends and no loose, exposed, which is bare, same thing, or burnt wiring. Burnt? On the electrical lines? I don't use that, but okay. All right, so we're done with that. Now we're going to go pintle, hook, and eye. This is the pintle hook, this bottom part. See, it looks like a hook. And this is the eye. Okay, it looks like an eye. So that's your pintle, hook, and eye. I'm making sure there's no cracks, no breaks, and that it's not excessively worn in my pintle hook and eye. Now my safety latch is this on top. That's what latches it down together. It's secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It's not cracked or worn. Okay? My mounting bolts, so you've got them both here and here, here and here. Okay? They are secured. They are tight with none missing. It just says none missing, but I would say tight also.
Okay.
My safety chains are hanging down here. They're actually dragging.
That'll just be the high point of the dirt.
Probably. They are secured. They are free of kinks. There is no excessive slack, and there are no broken links. Okay. Drawbar, which is just this right here. It goes this way and this way. That's called a drawbar. Okay. It's secured. There are no cracked welds. It is not bent, cracked, or twisted. That's all you got to say about it. Tongue storage area right here. It is secured to the tongue. Okay, this is the tongue. And the cargo in it is secured. That's all you got to say about that. Now we go to my landing gear, which is right here. It is secured. There's no loose or missing nuts and bolts. There's no cracked welds. It is fully raised. That means your foot is all the way up. My handle is secured, which it is. And there's no damage to my landing pad, which is this right here.
Okay.
It's called a landing pad. Trailer header board. That's all this is right here. It's called a trailer header board. Okay? Secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. Why they say that, I don't know. It's all welded. It's not bent, not cracked, and there's... hold on, I'm on the wrong one. Secured, no cracked welds, and it's not bent. That's all you got to say about that. Straps, right here. They are not loose or hanging freely. That's all you got to say about them. I would say secured, too, because I'll say secured on everything. Okay, so that's all done. Make sure. Okay. Trailer frame and cross members. Secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. The frame is not bent or cracked, and there's no holes in my deck. And there's no bends in my cross members either. Okay, back to the rear. Rear suspension. I would check my leaf springs, my U-bolts, my hangers, and my shock absorbers, same as rear of truck. Brakes. I would check my brake hoses and lines, my brake chambers and clamps, my slack adjusters, my linings, and my drum, same as rear of truck. My tires. I would check my tires, my wheels, my flanges, my lug nuts, my axle seals, and my valve stems, same as rear of truck. Except these are only singles. That's the only difference. You could say that or you don't have it. Okay. It says here rear axle seal. I don't know why. I've already said it. Axle seal. Okay. Now, if it's me, I would say, okay, I'd check to make sure that my ramps were secured. That's all you got to say about that. They're secured. And from here, I would check right side same as left. Let's go back.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.